The early 1800s was an important period for Latin America. During this time, the majority of nations revolted and broke away from the Spanish crown, leaving behind 3 centuries of colonial rule. Lyrical poetry, allegorical plays, and opera were often mixed to portray characters of indigenous or European lineage, and the desire to represent the Latin American identity through arts and music erupted.
I didn't know that I was going to study classical opera lyric voice. And I got into it, and at the beginning, I still wasn't sure why I liked it. I knew that I enjoyed it, but I was still trying to find myself into like, how is it that I fit here? And that same year, I was taking a theory lesson, music theory, and we had to look for this, analyze this piece of aria from an opera, from Pearl Fishers, from Bizet. And there is an aria there, tenor aria, which just, when I listened to it, at the end of the aria, I was crying. I did not know what he was saying. It was all in French. But the way that he expressed or interpreted whatever he was saying, it got to me. And I was like, I want to do this. I want to make sure that sorry. I get a little bit sentimental because I remember that moment, and it was, and I think that you can call that a turning point. Just feeling, and just the way that it's amazing how the art works, because you can get like this, looking also at a painting, colors, different degrees of colors that talks to you, that makes you feel something, you know. And that's how I look at music.
When I see you get misty-eyed,
yeah,
it's not about the paycheck, it's about the passion, isn't it?
I have a really appreciation for this kind of art, and I enjoy it. I think that's the ultimate thing. I love what I do. I mean, I just dig, and I put myself into the interpretation so much that my goal at the end is for at least one person of the audience, if they got it, that fulfills my goal.
Alex Alburqueque is a Peruvian native who studied vocal performance at the University of Maryland. He has shared the stage with the Washington National Opera and is the pupil of renowned American baritone Dominic Cossa.
Alex, this is a piece written by Alan Henry in April of 2019, and the headline is Opera Dead? The story points out that the National Endowment for the Arts conducted a survey of adults and found that in 2002, 3.2% of adults had attended at least one opera. By 2017, that number had dropped to just over 2%. How do you find that and rekindle that in the next generation?
I think that we also need to be teachers. I think that we need to make sure, as artists and as people that we love this art, we need to make sure that we pass this passion that we have, pass it on to the next generation. And it's different. It's hard because there are other. I guess because there are other genres, you know, that we have to. I guess we're in a race, you know, and but I think that there's a lot of stories that we can still tell through this art. Just like they have been told for many years. And the more that we put ourselves out there, making sure that we tell our stories new stories. I think that this generation will pick up on that. There are a lot of operas that have been done and redone, and they're amazing. But I think that this generation is looking for something else. I think this generation is looking for something new, and that's what we're trying to do also as artists.
Something new indeed by retelling the old stories and adapting the old craft. Alex travels the Latin American continent with the hope of educating new generations through music.
I think it's so interesting what you're doing in Colombia, where you're taking this to communities that wouldn't really know about opera, and probably creating a whole new generation in that regard. Talk to us about what you're doing there.
It's wonderful what we're doing over there. We're working with this foundation, which is called CAI, the CAI Foundation, which is actually, their focus is trying to, I guess, introduce this opera, lyric music, classical music into low-income communities that have not heard of this kind of music, and especially to kids, because what we're talking about is trying to introduce it to the next generation and keep it alive. So what we are trying to do is go and adapt these operas so that the kids can understand it. We try to make it kind of like games. We try to make vocal games, exercises so they can actually use their voice. We try to also involve them into the production, the small productions that we have. If I have to sing an aria or a song, they get to sing a couple of songs in a different language, Italian, German, French, which they have never ever sung. And for them it's funny, but they absorb that. And later on, they're gonna appreciate that. They're gonna see, wait, I sung this before and I heard it before when I was a kid. And even when they're kids, maybe they get the interests of like singing too. So we're trying to go to these communities and just go there and just try to sing, make them be involved with a couple of songs here and there, and yeah, we're receiving good. The parents are unbelievably happy to see their kids singing in Italian, for example, or singing stuff that they have singing cartoons. Because what we do, I try to also introduce a lot of Bugs Bunny. That's my to-go guy. Bugs Bunny with the, I don't know if you've seen it, I mean, it's very famous, the Barber of Seville bit, right, when he's, massaging Elmer's foot head and then the music, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. So we showed it to the kids, and the kids are like, oh my God. So guys, now you're gonna sing this. So I started singing the Barber of Seville, right? And they start singing with me. You guys sing Figaro, and they start Figaro, 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 Figaro. So they start, and they get involved into that. And it's amazing because now they have something to connect that with, something real. Something that it's not just in the cartoon, but it's actually a piece of art.
How do you get into the zone? I mean, take us into a performance. Just how difficult is it? Do you still get butterflies? What's it like?
I used to work as an actor for a theater company, and I learned a lot about how to get into the actor's zone, the stage, part. And for me, works. I like to walk at least once around the chairs of the audience. Just walk around, just to absorb the feeling of how it would be for an audience members to be looking at the stage. So I just walk around, up and down along the chairs, just walking around. After that, I go backstage, warming up, vocalizing, which is the usual for a singer. But then I do push-ups. So I do push-ups just to get my body physically going, also because there's a lot of movement. I like to move around. I just engulf myself into my character. Whatever it is, whatever it might be. It could be a concert, and it could be very different songs, but I still need to get into that zone, into that, what am I doing? What am I interpreting? What am I saying? What do I have? What do I want to tell these people? What story am I telling? And I always go for that. I always try to tell a story, even if it's a small story, even if it's just a 3-minute song. What do I want the audience to get from that, from what I'm gonna do? Is it a love song? Are they gonna remember something that happened to them when, at some point in their lives? Is it a sad song? And sometimes I have to be careful too. Because sometimes I get too much involved into that, my feelings start getting in the way of my singing. So I have to be very careful and try to measure that.
Que le notre corps, que l'amour t'attend, toréador, l'amour t'attend, toréador, l'amour t'attend.
Talk to us about the Latin American connection with opera, because people wouldn't think, well, how do these two dovetail?
I think that as a Latin American artist, we're very connected to our roots. We're very connected to where we come from, what our past is, the heritage that we have. And we take that it's very personal. It's very with us the whole time. I'm from Peru, and I've been living here in the US for 25, 26 years. When I perform with Latin American artists, they just put their whole heart into it, into the music. Even if the music has been written in Italian and French and German and English, we try to put our whole heart into it, just like anything that we do in the everyday life that we have. I mean, family, we're very family oriented, I think, and that's a very big thing for us. We are lovers, we're very passionate, right? So we transmit that, I think, into what we do. And that's what we do as artists. Musically, we have been very fortunate to have composers and musicians that represent us very well. Doing, for example, zarzuelas are very big in Spain and Cuba, Mexico. And they tell stories that you don't hear much about our ancestors, about our heritage, about the people, that everyday people that you don't hear about in other productions and other compositions.
We talk about language, we talk about Spanish or Italian or German, yet the language of music, it can touch the heart, it can touch the soul. And here it is in your hands.
You have to really immerse yourself into that. Live it. You have to understand what you're saying. You have to understand what the other person is saying. It applies to any kind of sentiment. It applies to any kind of feeling. If you're trying to be funny, if you're trying to be dark, if you're trying to be malicious, if you're trying to make, if you're sad, if you're heartbroken even, you have to feel it, you have to live it. And that helps you interpret And that helps you what you want to say and communicate that. There's a lot of great singers out there, a lot of them. They have a very good instrument. But you also have to make sure that you interpret and that you make and that you communicate what you're feeling. And that what makes the difference.
Luce la fe por el triunfo de un ideal redentor. Yo que no soy más que un hombre.
Alex is also a piano instructor. He was 9 years old when his family got an electric keyboard as a Christmas gift from their father. His siblings soon lost interest, but not Alex. His curiosity and love of the instrument fueled his excitement for music and the arts. It's a passion that has transformed into hope.
I'd like to close with piano because it's still a passion of yours, and you're still teaching kids piano. Is that a form of just paying it forward? Is it just part of who you became, and you want to pass that on? What drives you to teach piano to young people, do you think?
I think it's the purpose for me, and I always say this when I have a recital for them, is for them to appreciate it, for them to just appreciate, even if they don't, if in a couple of years they leave it alone, or they keep going and they pursue it, you never know. My goal is for them to remember, even if it's a little small, simple piece, when they're like 40, 50, and they can still sit at the piano and play a little bit of that tune. That, for me, is the goal.
Very touching. Thanks so much.
Thank you.